Prisons have always been dangerous, but now, with less structure than ever, California's prison system is more chaotic, violent, and unstable than any other point in recent history, and yet, no one is talking about it. Officials say reforms and highlights drop invisible violence, but a new, more discreet form of death is emerging, one that blends into the noise, one that isn't being investigated. This is the theory that overdose has become the new form of murder behind bars, and the state may be choosing to look the other way. In 2019, California prisons reported 64 overdose deaths. After brief declines, by 2023, the number was back, making the death rate even higher. And these aren't just happening in the general population. Overdoses are occurring in high-security housing units, in solitary confinement, places where drugs should be impossible to get. More than 65% of inmates in California are incarcerated due to substance abuse or mental illness, but the system isn't built to treat them. It's built to contain them. With staff shortages, crumbling infrastructure, and an overwhelmed ADSEG population, most inmates find themselves trapped in cycles of drug abuse, gang extortion, and mental collapse. To keep up with the times, prison staff deploy tech, drone radar, phone jammers, AI surveillance, but it is not enough. Contraband keeps flowing. Phones are smuggled in. Drones drop drugs and SIM cards. Inmates use cryptocurrency to coordinate everything from inside solitary.
Sneaking contraband into prisons by drone. Their most recent arrest happened last weekend.
If they can't throw it physically over the fence, they would get drones and they'd fly them over the fence.
But he says drone drops have become increasingly common in the past couple of years.
This year we've worked probably 5 or 6 drone cases.
Burgamy says the contraband ranges from tobacco, cell phones, all the way to hard drugs and weapons.
Overdose is now a discrete form of execution. No shanks, no beatings, just a toxic mix slipped in on the right moment. Inmates already struggling with addiction become easy targets. No one questions their death. It's written off as a tragedy. California's Department of Corrections rarely investigates these deaths as potential homicides. It's safer and politically cleaner to blame the opioid epidemic than admit the prison system has lost control. Because if they admit overdose is being used as a weapon, they're also admitting negligence. Inmates are using drones, phones, and cryptocurrency to outsmart the system, and no one is stopping it. California's prisons are more dangerous than ever. Less structure, more contraband, fewer protections, almost no media coverage. And in the silence, people are dying in ways no one wants to talk about. The Mexican mafia coined the term hotshot, which is where they would lure one of their friends into getting high with them. But without their knowledge, they would give them much more than they could ever take, which would cause an overdose. Now, with this individual being addicted to drugs, it was very easily glanced over.
Like that, but a lot of them have substance abuse problems, and that's their downfall. But his substance abuse problem led him directly into my hands. So my dealers come back to me and says, "Hey, there's a guy at the door saying he's a carnal and he wants some dope." I says, "Ask him to come in." As soon as I see who it is, I tell him, "Hey, brother, what's up?" I woo him. I woo him like, "Hey, how you doing, man? You want to get high?" "Yeah, sure. This is mine. No problem." So when he doesn't see me, I talk to Jaco Padilla, and I tell Jaco Padilla, "Fix him a hot shot." I finally woo him to the point where he wants to get high. He slams a spoon of heroin. "Oh yeah, that's good, bro." So, "Man, you want to do a speedball?" Unbeknownst to him, this is a lethal dose. Jaco had slipped away and filled up the syringe with a massive amount of dope, and we give it to him. And he just immediately leans forward and he hits the table. Boom. And I said, "Give him some more. Put him out." And he tells me, "Are you trying to kill me?" And I said, "No, bro. We're trying to give you some coke to wake you up." It's another lethal dose of heroin.
But going back to your question where you asked me, are there ever suicides that appear to be a gray area where it'd be something else? Not suicides, but overdoses. Overdoses, there's gray areas. There's certain gangs, such as the Mexican Mafia, other gangs, that will distribute what's called a hot shot, which is a lethal dose of heroin. And they'll get their victim extremely high and continue to get them high until they die. So that's an overdose, but not a suicide.
Who knows how many of these so-called overdoses are due to the fact that people aren't willing to pay their extortions, who aren't willing to fight, who aren't willing to kill for the organization. I don't feel that a lot of these gangs have any fear of being arrested or charged for these murders, which is what makes it feel like a much larger conspiracy than just simple gang members trying to get away with murder. It seems almost like a coordinated attempt between the CDC and specific groups in order to keep their names out of the newspapers. So do you guys think this is simply a drug crisis or a silent execution? Share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe for more investigation they don't want you to hear about.